What the fuck? What the fuck is...
You don't want to be like this. This is disgusting. This is awful in every way. If I could kill it, I would. But I legally can't. But I've considered it.
The last episode of The Acolyte is a new reminder to fans as to how far Star Wars has fallen. There's a lot of bad writing to go over, but before we dive into that, I just want to mention that it seems like a lot of you guys aren't subscribed yet, so if you haven't already, feel free to leave a like on the video and subscribe. It's free, and it would really help me out. Alright, so the first thing I want to go ahead and talk about is the scene between OSHA and Kemir. The scene itself shows Kemir stripping naked and taking a quick little dip into what seems to be like a pond somewhere, where OSHA confronts him after waking up. Now, Kemir explains that it would be wrong of her to kill him while he's defenseless, and asks OSHA to at least let him grab his clothes. He then gets out of the water, butt-ass naked, and we see OSHA's eyes go downward, as if to indicate that she was checking him out. This scene itself is just so unnecessary. There's no need to have pointless nudity or sexual tension like this. Now, I understand that we've had romance before and some type of romantic tension between characters, but nothing as weird as the scene where someone's naked. Pointless nudity and having shirtless scenes with zero context just takes you out of Star Wars. This isn't something George would have done, and it seems to me like it's just a way to force sexualization of characters. And the funny thing is that these writers and directors that made this show would be the first to complain about how sexualized women are in media, while going out of their way to sexualize men. But I guess it's okay to sexualize men and not women. On the topic of Kemir, we see him later repairing his helmet, which is confirmed to be made out of cortosis. Now, for those of you who don't know what cortosis is, it's essentially a metal that can short out lightsabers and other forms of electrical devices it comes into contact with, but only for a short amount of time. The reason why this scene stood out to me is because of how on earth is he using an electrical device to solder his helmet when in the last episode we saw it short out lightsabers when it came into contact with them. This is a small scene that ultimately shows how the logic in the show isn't being followed and that the writers aren't talented or care enough to actually think this through and not have him repair his helmet that is supposed to disable plasma or electrical devices. After the scene, OSHA notices a scar on Kemir's back and asks him what happened. He says, "What do you think?" indicating that the scars, which look like whiplashes, on his back are from the only character in this entire show who has a whip. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I had no idea what this character's name was or literally anything about her because nobody read The High Republic. Let's be real here, okay? So I had to Google it. Vernestra, which is this character's name, seems to have dark tendencies as indicated by her purple lightsaber, which is a mix of both red and blue. It would actually be pretty interesting if she was Kemir's old master who abused him, but the writing has made it really uninteresting, and I don't think anyone watching this cares. The whole purpose of the show, at least to me, is that they're trying to paint the Jedi as not good guys, which doesn't really make any sense to me, and it goes against everything that George Lucas wrote for episodes 1 through 6, because the whole point of those movies is that there is inherent good and evil in the galaxy. And the good being the Jedi and the bad being the Sith. I mean, you know, the good versus evil, white versus black, you know, that's the whole point. And it ties back into old movies and old writing and everything like that. You know, the hero's journey, stuff like that. It's not anything new. And we already know that the Jedi aren't perfect. We saw that in the prequels. We knew that the Jedi were becoming overly political. And not just the prequels, but also the Clone Wars. We saw the downfall of the Jedi. We saw how they became political and they just did the bidding of the Republic. And even the Sith knew that. That was the whole plan. That was the whole plan that the Sith were going to put into action, that Plagueis was going to do, that Palpatine really kind of planned out and executed. That's the whole point. That's how Order 66 happened. So it doesn't make any sense to me as to why Leslie Headland is trying to portray this when it already happened. Now, unfortunately, these aren't the only terrible scenes in this episode, so let's go ahead and move on to the next one, which is between May and Sol. I'm just gonna go over this one scene as quickly as possible, but holy shit, bro, like how can you read minds and not know that this isn't your Padawan? It takes the tracker to tell him that it's May and not OSHA. The scene just continues to stretch out weak plot and sprinkle it with motivations and storytelling that makes no sense at all. Again, this is a Jedi Master that can read minds and sense feelings. It would make no sense at all if May was able to hide this from a Jedi Master, especially one that had her sister, yes, her literal twin sister as his Padawan. How on earth would he not know that it was May? This part of the episode is just convenient for the sake of being convenient and doesn't follow along with the logic that these writers have already established earlier in the series. Overall, this show is just a giant mess. There's just no need for the sexualization of certain characters in the show, and the possible romance between Kemir and OSHA just feels forced, no pun intended. This is not what Star Wars is, and I know some of you may disagree, but when you have people writing the show coming out and attacking fans, calling them racist, sexist, homophobic, all these different ists and phobes, all by sexualizing men, it's all just a giant battle of hypocrisy for these people in Hollywood. Despite the examples I just gave you as to how bad this show's writing truly is, my biggest complaint is how the show breaks canon. Now, people have been arguing that Kmir isn't a Sith, but he literally said he was interested in the power of two, referring to the rule of two. The rule of two is essentially a rule put into place for the Sith to follow so that they wouldn't become responsible for their own demise and would end the infighting amongst them. Even if we find out that he isn't a Sith and he's some type of Knight of Ren, it still wouldn't make any sense because he's a Force user using a red lightsaber and killing Jedi. And the Jedi know this. They know that Jedi have been killed with lightsaber wounds. And if the Jedi think that he's a Sith, then it goes against the entirety of the prequel trilogy and undermines Darth Maul and Qui-Gon's death. But, you know, if you're okay with the Acolyte breaking canon and having terrible writing, then that's totally fine. You have the right to your own opinion, and that's okay. And with that being said, that's going to wrap up today's video. I just want to say thank you guys so much for all the love and support you guys showed me on my last video. This is a small channel, and to see it grow is absolutely amazing. And I'm actually on the road to 1,000 subscribers, so if you guys want to be a part of that, hit the like button, subscribe. It would really help me out, and I would really appreciate it. If you guys want to see just how Disney is ruining Star Wars, definitely click one of these videos to see how they're doing that. But that's pretty much it. See ya.